It is Thursday, the 23rd day of December 2021. Good evening and thanks for joining us on today's edition of Prime News on My Media, Prime Television, beaming live from Douala, Cameroon's economic capital. My name is Fon Quinter. Begin today's edition of news in the Lithoral region, where the body of a 2-month-old baby has been found in a dustbin around the Lokbaba neighborhood in Douala 3 subdivision. According to an eyewitness, a woman threw the corpse of the said baby from a car that was on the move. Investigation has been opened by elements of the 3rd District Police to trace the perpetrator of the act, described by many as barbaric. Over in the southwest region, the Minister of Secondary Education, Professor Pauline Nolinga, today presided over the funeral ceremony of a student and teacher killed in a school in Ekondo Titi last month. Minister Nolinga, while in Limbe, used the occasion to call on teachers who have abandoned their job to return if not sanction awaits them. It should be recalled that the teacher and 4 students were killed on November 24 when armed men launched an attack on government Bilingual High School Ekondo Titi. Let's now listen to an excerpt of the Minister of Secondary Education, Professor Pauline Nolinga, selected for us by staffman Lasha Kingsley.
Deserve the name of Cameroon. It is not Cameroon. It's not representative. Ladies and gentlemen, who can tell us enough? We need to be told this over and over and over again. As the divisional representative for education said, this woman has suffered enough. But again, it's part of our behavior, where you think that for you to have a position, for you to become a principal, for you to be moved from one place to the other, you have to give 1 million so that you can be moved. So you don't know that simply come and knock on another's door and you're going to have what you want to have. Had she known that, she would have been moved before she left this pit. But everybody was waiting, perhaps to give it to the wrong person. The person who says, give me 500,000. Give me that. Nolinga does not take money. All those who have been moved now, go and ask them whether they gave.
Now, several shops have been reduced to ashes following a fire outbreak at Vogada Market in the nation's political capital on the night of Tuesday, December 21. It is suspected that short circuit is the cause of the fire outbreak, adding to uncountable fire incidents recorded in the country. Eileen Sima completes the story.
Another disastrous fire outbreak at the Vogada Market in Yaoundé, in the nation's capital, on the night of Tuesday, December 21, 2021, ravaged about 50 shops, mostly belonging to some Nigerian traders specialized in the sale of second-hand motor spare parts. It is not clear what caused the fire, but eyewitnesses suspect short circuit. The damage caused by the fire cannot be estimated, but hundreds of millions of francs CFA have been lost in the fire. Owners of the shops raised by the flames are still in shock as they watch their millions burn down. However, elements of the fire-fighting brigade in Yaoundé, in the nation's capital, reported to the scene but had to fight for several hours to extinguish the fire, but much damage had already been done. For the record, majority of markets across the national territory have experienced at least 1 or 2 fire outbreaks since January 2021, recording huge financial and material losses, with big towns recording the highest numbers of fire outbreaks like Douala, Bafoussam, Buea, Bamenda, and Yaoundé. Meantime, more calls are being made at the moment for lasting safety measures to be implemented in homes, shops, offices, business places, schools, and markets, so that 2022 may be a better year with regards to the recent recurrent fire outbreaks across the country.
Investigations are currently underway following the torture of 2 minors by their father at Sisia 3, a neighborhood in Bamenda 3 subdivision of the Northwest region. Their father reportedly tortured and chained the kids who were rescued by neighbors and handed to the Child Protection Unit of the Cameroon Baptist Convention Health Services. Northwest correspondent Charles Kiwa with details.
Child torture in the Sisia 3 neighborhood in Nkwen Bamenda 3 subdivision has been recorded as 2 minors are victims of child abuse in the Sisia neighborhood, Bamenda 3 subdivision of the Northwest. Recorded because of 25 friends they were molested. Foso, Addison, and Tala Noel were tortured by their own father, chained and locked up at home in the Sisia 3 neighborhood, Bamenda 3 subdivision. According to neighbors, the eldest male, Foso Addison, unchained himself and left through the window, alerted neighbors after having made his way for freedom, and neighbors from outside their home first opened the door and freed the kid's sister in chain. Neighbors who offered food to Addison's kid's sister Tala Noel was unable to eat because of her chained hands. She suffered for days and was fed by a neighbor for her to gain energy. Their case was reported for security intervention. Thanks to neighbors' help, they were taken to the Child Protection Unit of the Cameroon Baptist Convention Health Services. The children had undergone medical attention and investigations opened. By press time, we are told the perpetrator, one Yemele Francois, of his children abused in Sisia 3 in Nkwen Hills from the West region and is noted for torture. It is alleged he has gotten married to 7 women and sent them all away from his home by violence and torturing.
I'm for that boy on, so I be married and always will be me chain and do the kind thing them. I come on me for them woman. We can use for take begin go. So like that month I hear they just can't come. Listen, as we don't happen. I want to follow up. We don't take the account. They so that since morning they meet and they say with the beginning. And they take care and they take care with other. So I don't face no me, man. So I just did me I don't ever do state council outside. They sign me. So as I will come out, they are going to basically supposed to that yes. I want to have one job doing how you want to kill me and kill I don't touch me. No problem. Careful for now. Yes, now I now one gonna police or try to see what to do because the police force me to over or they give another picking level place to a man they can't take care of you're a criminal the job not that man forget about you're a criminal if you don't I can't see your own born picking say your own born their own blood the same thing we do for we don't for you are born and you you're a criminal.
Investigations had been opened to the matter as human rights activists are bent. This incident is happening at a time some parents are investing on their children education for more sustainability, securing the future for legacy that lives on.
The chiefs of Fakon, the Southwest region, yesterday coordinated a hygiene and sanitation exercise in Limbe. The major areas of concern was the main entrance into the town of Limbe, as well as the Limbe Omnisport Stadium, which will host matches during the upcoming AFCON competitions. Nora Kakebi completes the story.
Less than 3 weeks away from the AFCON, Fako chiefs came out in their numbers for a massive cleanup campaign in Limbe in preparation to welcome their guests. The campaign was launched yesterday, Wednesday, December 22, 2021, in the presence of the Divisional Officer for Limbe 2 Subdivision and other administrative and local authorities. Serge Meke Albert Ebba, the Divisional Officer, applauded the initiative of the Fako chiefs in keeping the town clean.
The chief engagement in order to prove to the whole world, to our country, from all the corners, that they are ready to receive the AFCON here in Limbe, Boya side. Precisely in Limbe 2 subdivision, the host of the Limbe of the sports stadium. And their gesture is full of symbolism. It's only yesterday that the president of the CAF went to the presidency and was received by our administrator of state, and the confirmation came to clean all the dam that effectively the AFCON will take place here.
Not only the DO applauded the wonderful initiative by the custodians of tradition, but the mayor of Limbe 2 Council, His Royal Highness, Chief Walker Daniel Ndive1, equally gave an appraisal.
To show you that the chief themselves are prepared and they are very willing and happy for this event. I know that once the chief are ahead, it means that the population is behind it. That is why they came here today in our municipality Limbe 2, that happens to be the host of the tournament in Southwest Limbe, to show how willing they are for this event.
The efforts and response of the local population was quite impressive as they turned out in their numbers to collectively clean the city in preparation to accommodate the august guests. In the same light, the president of Fako Chiefs Conference, His Royal Highness Chief Elombe Augustine Kombe, says sanitation is paramount in life and calls on all to be actively involved.
What you see happening here is a wonderful initiative which was born from the very fact that, cleanliness, they say, is very close to holiness, next to holiness. So for us as people of Fako, we put a lot of training on cleanliness. That is why we came out as a people to support the interests of this very idea that places should be clean.
The commitment to clean up is seen as the population collects their machetes to go down to work, including the mayor.
The sum of 4.5 billion francs CFA has been adopted as budget for the 2022 financial year for the National School of Administration and Development. The budget was disclosed during the 4th ordinary session of Board of Directors that held on Wednesday, December 22, 2021. Limbe Clarity Okoe completes the story.
These are members of Board of Directors of the National School of Local Administration and Development, also known as NASLA, meeting for their 4th ordinary session set aside to examine and adopt the 2022 budget. During this meeting presided at by the board chair, Muta Usman May, the board members for several hours and behind closed doors deliberated on several issues. Among the resolution taken at the end of the board meeting, as disclosed by the Director General of NASLA, Tanyi Baye, is the budget for NASLA for the year 2022, which stands at 4.5 billion francs CFA.
The budget was adopted by the board members at approximately 4.5 billion. On top of that, we had some other pressing matters concerning the functioning of the school to improve on its performance and on its management, that we thought we should submit to the approval of the board.
Highlighting priority projects for the year 2022, the Director General of NASLA intimated that the entrance examination into NASLA is well on course.
Next year will finally be the year that we do an entrance exam, because the board members were very worried about that and asked a lot of questions about the progress being made in that score. And so we tried to give them the explanations of what we have been doing with the authorities that be in relation to that particular preoccupation, which seemed to be the main concern of the board.
The Director General went further to note that several projects were realized for the year 2021.
Our principal achievement is that our in-service training cycle opened with 306 trainees who are going to be finalizing their training in February 2022. We have already launched an invitation for the next batch of in-service training. Our infrastructure development has continued. We are hoping that by the time we get to early 2022, our capacity would have been greatly improved.
While expressing satisfaction on resolutions taken, the board chair did not fail to call on the board members to remain hopeful and determined while accompanying the institution in its mission of providing quality training for both municipal councillors and others wishing to enroll into the programs offered by NASLA.
Now, stickers on imported fruits are not trivial as they all serve a particular purpose. Unfortunately, many Cameroonians ignore their usefulness. Joy Ngong took interest in the story and put together the following.
An overwhelming majority of Cameroonians ignore the meaning and significance of stickers, which are found on fruits imported from the Western world. The major problem, however, is that many citizens do not bother to find out. Talking to these sellers, they have no idea. The buyers, it's even worse. I just know they put stickers on apples, but I don't know what it means. I just know that apples should be round without any marks on it. I just sell apples. I see the tickets on the apples, but I don't know what they mean. The authorities say they are going to seize them, but we don't know why they want to seize them. Stickers are used as identification numbers for each fruit. They provide information on traceability and price lookup codes across the world. Most stickers are found on imported fruits like apples, grapes, bananas, pears, oranges, among others. The numerical stickers containing 4 to 5 digit numbers give consumers useful insight and can tell if the fruit has been genetically modified. Price lookup codes identify products based on various attributes including the commodity, its variety, and growing methodology. The codes are assigned by the International Federation for Produce Standards. The 4 numbers code means that the produce was grown traditionally. If there are 5 numbers which begins with an 8, it means the product has been genetically modified. Even though the price lookup code is simple enough key to identify how a fruit was grown, learning to read the sticker gives an opportunity to make an informed decision about your diet.
Joy Ngang reports in the another Ministry of Public Health has equipped specialization centers to cater for persons who test positive for COVID-19. This is in a bid to avoid the widespread of coronavirus during the upcoming African Cup of Nations competition slated for January 2022. Catherine Ekongwe completes the story.
To avoid the widespread of coronavirus pandemic during the African Cup of Nations in Cameroon, the Ministry of Public Health has equipped specialization centers to host persons tested positive with COVID from the airports.
We have received a formal higher instruction by the head of state to test all and to screen and test all of the passengers who are disembarking in Cameroon. So I think this is very clear. This is a procedure that has been written. If you are asymptomatic, you can be confined at your house or in a hotel. If you have symptoms, we have an ambulance in each of airports which takes you immediately in charge and bring you to a unit of taking care of COVID patients.
Strict measures have as well been put in place to get persons into Cameroon tested at the airport, since there are possibilities of some positive cases.
This is very formal, and we know everybody knows what to do if you have a positive case or negative cases.
It should be noted that everyone getting into the country will go through these tests, be they players, supporters, and delegation members.
The religious news, Reverend Caroline Memo has been commissioned as overseer of the Shekinah Glorious Ministry. In a message, the pastor called on parents to accompany their kids to church as it implants in them the fear of God. Charles Kibwa reports from Bamenda.
Shekinah Glorious Ministries International Bamenda has been commissioned, bringing children and youths to plant God's word on them as they grow in the fear of the Lord in a Sunday service December 19, 2021 at Shekinah Glorious Ministries International, Banja Street, Nkwen, Bamenda 3 subdivision, with Pastor Favor, age 14, ordained pastor some 2 years ago to encourage children, preach the gospel, change challenges into testimony. Reverend Caroline Memo, founder of Shekinah Glorious Ministries International, said the ministry God laid in her heart 9 years ago to open a baby church is to raise children to teens, to adults up to mother and father.
Glory, as what the Lord told me, is to raise God-fearing children, from children to teenagers to adults. I have to raise them up, teach them the way of the Lord, so that they can be better people in our society, and our society will be the best place for us to live, to eradicate things that are happening around us that is not of God, like lesbianism, adultery, fornication, embezzlement, stealing, armed robbery, looting. The Lord does not like such things.
The Reverend Caroline Memo, as a servant of God with nothing on her own, thanked all who supported the ministry grow. Said her power and source is Jesus Christ. With Shekinah Glorious Ministry International, the children amongst their peer groups will be pulled to Jesus as the way and the light, and will be the light of their families, community, and everywhere they go.
From the scratch, these children will not indulge themselves in things like that. Amongst their peer groups, they will pull them on to Jesus. They will show them the way, because Jesus said, I am the light. So they will be the light. They are the light of their families. They are the light in their community, and everywhere they go, they are going to be the light. In their offices, they will not do what others are doing. They will try to come in to show Jesus's nature to others.
Reading from Mark 10, verses 1 to 16 in a message titled, As a Little Child, Reverend Apostle George Etuke called on parents not only to send their children to church and stay behind for other activities, but accompany the children together to church and fellowship with Jesus.
Let them come also and fellowship with Jesus as Jesus fellowship with children. And don't forget, the Bible said the kingdom of God is for those who are like them. So you are a child. Jesus is seeing you as his own child. So you can also come to him, express yourself to him, but don't be too big. Don't behave too big to Jesus. If not, you will not receive what a child can receive.
Reverend Caroline Memo was empowered spiritually through prayers as she coordinates the church activities, praise worship, group photographs, and a family meal with kids. Grace Shekinah Glorious Ministry International Day.
So sports, five-time African champions Cameroon have named a 28-man final squad for the Total Energies Africa Cup of Nations due in 3 weeks. Indomitable Lions head coach Antonio Conceição made public the squad on Wednesday, December 22, as Nolinga tells us.
Indomitable Lions head coach Tony Conceição has retained 28 players from the 40 pre-selected early this week. The cut includes 4 goalkeepers, with 2 of them based in Africa, including Omosola and Efala Komgweb Jean. The duo to complement them are Ajax Amsterdam's Andre Onana and Davis Epasi Mbota, who plays for the Greek side of OFI Crete. Defender Michael Ngando, highest scorer with 2 goals during the 2017 edition in Gabon, leads the 10 defenders drafted. AFCON 2021 will be the first for Ligue 1 trio Jean-Charles Castelletto, Enzo Eboze, and Harold Mokund. So too Jerome Ongwene, Mbaizo Olivier, and Nahu Tolo. Enzo Obose is off to a first call-up, presumably sitting in for regular fullback Jean-Claude Billon, who has been ruled out for an ankle injury. Tony's midfield compartment features both Frank Zambo Anguissa of SSC Napoli and Kunde Malong of Olympiacos. The duo-backed man of the match awards during the previous edition in Egypt. They are joined by 5 other AFCON freshmen. Captain Vincent Abubakar, scorer of the winner at the finals versus Egypt in Gabon and 3 qualifier goals, is amongst 8 forwards. 28-year-old Dynamo Moscow returnee winger Njie Clinton will be making a 3rd consecutive appearance since 2015. Meanwhile, 2017 Avon's most valuable player Christian Basagog makes the cut. In total, 17 players could make their AFCON debuts when the competition rumbles off in their backyard, as 11 others have featured in at least one of the previous editions. Team Cameroon is headed for a 20th participation and will be bidding for a 6th title. The hosts will face Burkina Faso in the inaugural match on January 9, 2022 at the Olembe Stadium in the political capital, Yaoundé. Cameroon rounds off its group campaign on January 17th with third-timers kept third.
On our foreign page, dozens of people have been killed in violence between farmers and herders in Nigeria's central Nasarawa state. This story and more on the following compilation. Out of Cameroon, we begin in Nigeria, where more than 1 million doses of expired AstraZeneca vaccines have been destroyed. The expired doses were destroyed at a landfill in Nigeria's capital, Abuja, a week after the nation said it would no longer accept donated COVID-19 vaccines with short shelf lives. According to the head of Nigerian National Primary Healthcare Development Agency, Faisal Shaib, the donations were accepted with the intention of protecting its citizens, but later realized that some doses had nearly reached its expiry date. Africa's most populous country, with a population exceeding 200 million, has recorded 227,378 COVID-19 cases and 2,989 deaths since the pandemic started. We remain in Nigeria, where authorities say dozens of people have been killed in violence between farmers and herders in the country's center, Nasarawa state. In a statement late on Tuesday, the office of President Muhammadu Buhari said at least 45 farmers were killed in the violence that erupted on Friday and dozens more were wounded. According to local police, the violence broke out when armed Fulani herders attacked villagers from the TIV ethnic group over the killing of a kinsman that they blamed on TIV farmers. From Nigeria, we move over to Guinea, where former coup leader Musa Dadis Camara, the man who led the 2008 coup and whose brief rule was marked by a stadium massacre, returned to the West African country today after more than a decade in exile in Burkina Faso. Musa Dadis left Guinea in December 2009 after narrowly surviving an assassination attempt carried out by one of his own bodyguards. His exile eventually paved the way for Guinea's first democratic election since independence from France, which put Alpha Condé in power. For years, the government had sought to prevent Camara's homecoming. And China has put a city of 13 million people into lockdown over an increase in coronavirus infections. This comes just a week before it is set to host the Winter Olympics. Bokenga Wadi with details and this story and more.
Ahead of Christmas celebration, the World Health Organization insists on its warning regarding Omicron, the new coronavirus variant, which is spreading faster than Delta variant and any other variant. This variant has symptoms which include dry cough, headache, fever, dizziness, itchy throat, sore throat, amongst others. To this regard, AstraZeneca, BioNTech, and Oxford University are working together, tailoring their vaccines and topping their efficacy against the latest variants. And in France, the French police uncovered 182,000 fake health passes of the coronavirus vaccine. The French President Emmanuel Macron, since July 2021, had introduced official COVID-19 vaccination passes be presented by citizens before entering crowded places such as bars, restaurants, trains, amongst others, so as to help reduce the spread of the virus in the country. However, reports from investigation by the police on COVID-19 cases ordered by the country's interior minister proved that there were some health professionals providing fake health passes to the population, which has caused the country's COVID-19 cases to rise lately. It is worth mentioning that selling false health passes is punishable by 5 years in prison and about 49 million francs fine as per the country's law. Still in line with the coronavirus in Asia, Japan records new cases of the coronavirus since the pandemic. Though health experts in the country say the reason for the increase in cases is unknown, the country have recorded cases of the highly transmissible Omicron, which is said to be spreading in some communities in the country. It is worth mentioning that throughout the pandemic, the country have recorded lower rates of COVID-19 infection and deaths than most Western countries. And in China, the country puts a city of 13 million people on a lockdown following an increase in COVID-19 cases cases, doubling the country's zero-tolerance policy weeks before its hosting of the Winter Olympics. Away from the COVID-19 pandemic, Annalena Baerbock, the new German foreign minister, has pledged to speed up efforts in evacuating persons from Afghanistan. Since the takeover of the Taliban on May 1st, 2021, 40% of the country's media have been shut down. 80% of female journalists have lost their job. Women and girl survivors for gender-based violence have been abandoned in the country, as evacuation flights out of the country have been banned by the Taliban. To this regard, the foreign minister for Germany have pledged to evacuate thousands of the former employees as well as persons in danger out of this country as soon as possible.
Bokengo, well, this report ends today's edition of Prime News on My Media, Prime Television. My name is Fon Quinter. Meet again tomorrow for yet another edition of Prime News. Have a great evening in the company of more programs on the African Hour. Good night.
Welcome to a new world of TV broadcasting. My Media Prime. News, discovery,